out their glasses. No expression, no expression. Hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrows. No tomorrow, no tomorrow. And I find it kinda funny.
Good afternoon, my name is Alexia, and today I'm going to talk to you about death penalty in the United States and why it needs to be abolished. John Wayne executed in May 10, 1914, Ted Bundy executed on January 24, 1989, and Allen Warner executed on October 9, 2002 are examples of many people that have been put to death because of death penalty. They all deserve to because of their serial killings, but what gives us the right to decide that if they can live? I want you to realize that death penalty does more harm than it does good, and that for that reason it should be abolished. I have researched both sides of this controversy, and I think that the need to abolish death penalty is the strongest argument. Today I'm going to talk to you about the expenses of death penalty, the risk that comes along with it, its ineffectiveness, and the question to our human rights. So let's begin with the expensive. Just one sentence. Death penalty is expensive. According to Richard C. Dieter, who is the executive director of the Death Penalty Information Center, he states that the majority of the persons that are on death row cannot afford a lawyer. So what happens in these cases? The state needs to provide them one. Some of the costs that are involved in a death penalty trial are the legal cost, the pre-trial cost, jury selection, trial, incarceration, and appeal cost. This all comes from federal funds. Death penalty is also more expensive than life without parole because the Constitution requires a large and exhaustive process in order for them to make sure that they are not executing an innocent person for a crime they didn't commit. But even though we have all this process, the risk is very high of killing an innocent person. In death penalty cases, there's two phases in the trial. The first one is conviction, in which they decide if the person is guilty or innocent. If guilty, then comes the sentence. And additional costs in these two phases may apply. I'm going to give you an example in amount so that you can realize how much different it is. In California right now, it costs around $137 million because they have death penalty. But if they didn't have death penalty, it will be as low as $11.5 million. So that's a lot of reduction in the cost. Actually, the judgment in death penalty cases is based on the lawyer that can be afforded by the person that is in death row. Because contrary to popular belief, death penalty is not given to the worst crime that was committed, but only to the worst lawyer because they can't fight till the end for the person because they have like a lot of cases to worry about, so they don't put like 100% in that case. Now that I've told you about the costliness of death penalty, I'll tell you about the risk that comes along with it. So the main risk that comes along with death penalty is killing an innocent man. I have an example of Troy Davis. Troy Davis was the government said that he killed a police officer. While he was on death row, for about 15 years. He was still fighting to prove his innocence because he said he didn't commit that crime. While on death row, 7 of the 9 witnesses stated different from their first statement. So they said that maybe he didn't do it. But this appeal to the Supreme Court was denied, and he was put to death on September 21st, 2011. Since 1973, 138 people have been exonerated from death row. Why? Because they have found proof of their innocence. So this proves my point that before we have any more advances in technology, the judicial system was and still is very capable of making mistakes. And this is not a mistake that you can turn around because the person is already dead and you can't do anything like for him or her. My next issue is the ineffectiveness of the death penalty. Death penalty makes the supporters of death penalty say that having death penalty makes a person think twice before killing someone. But if we think about it, a person is like crazy enough to take someone else's life. They really don't think about the consequences. And in most of the cases, the murderer commits suicide after committing their crime. So this is like an incentive for them to kill because they live in the U.S. with approximately 650 inmates waiting for an execution. So like we can see here in this chart, the red line is for the states that have death penalty, and the murder rates are actually higher than in states where they don't have death penalty. And this comes since 1990 to 2010, and things are the same right now. With death penalty, we may think that it brings justice to the family of the victim, but it doesn't. Like if we kill the killer, do the family like feels better? No, because they still have to live all their life without their loved one, missing them. And if we kill the murderer, that life will not go to their loved one and they will be back. So there's no justice, and for me it's just like revenge. Since when do we have the right to treat people like they were human? That's not our decision. And that brings me to my next point, that is human rights. Does the government really have the right to take someone's life? This goes against the 8th Amendment to the United States Constitution, and the amendment states that the government cannot impose excessive, cruel, or initial punishment to any person. And the death penalty also goes against the 3rd article of the human rights that were published by the United Nations, and actually the United States signed that agreement. And that article says that every human being has the right to live, to be free, and to be safe. So death penalty is against that rights. If we are killing someone because they killed, we are sending the wrong message. We are being killers as well as them. So death penalty makes us all of us killers, and we should not go to the same level as that person's. Right here we can see the preferred punishment for murders, and as we can see, the majority of the people think that the best punishment is life without parole. Personally, I agree with that, because if you have the murderer in jail for the rest of their lives with no chance of going out, they will be there, they will be learning about the mistake they made and still serving maybe the country or the society. So, in conclusion, I've talked to you about the cost of death penalty, the risk that comes along with it, its ineffectiveness as a deterrent to murder, and the question to our human rights. The old law of